Hi there, this is Allison with Let's Go Travel Tips, and today is another one of those days that we have got so much to talk about. Today is Thursday, May 5th of 2022, and we've got COVID health protocol updates for sailings from the US and Canada, for sailings from the UK, as well as sailings from Europe for Princess Cruise Lines. And we've got lots of onboard updates as well as other helpful information. And we've got a lot to talk about, so we'll go ahead and get started. First of all, I would like to welcome all of our Let's Go family members. I want you to know I am so grateful for you. I know that you are all really busy. You've got really busy lives and a lot going on, and you still take time to be so kind and watch my videos. You are so kind to add comments and helpful information that helps other people out. So thank you very much. And also, I want to welcome everyone who is new. We were hoping you would come. We're glad to have you with us, and we hope you stay. If you haven't subscribed yet, any of you, will you please subscribe to our channel? I think it will really help you out, as well as it will help us out. And I think that it's more important than ever as things are going along here, that if you are even considering going on a cruise, that you need to stay up to date with everything to do with protocols, what's going on board the ships, just everything. And I really do try to share with you the things that I want to know. That's how I find half of this out, is because I want to know it for our upcoming cruise and what we're looking for in the future. And so I just wanted to tell you that, and I'm glad you're with us. So first of all, the first thing that I want to talk about is kind of what the really hot topic is yesterday and today to do with cruising. And we saw a news story, I think kind of kicked it off. A news story reported that there was a Carnival ship that arrived with some people on board who had tested positive. And one of those passengers spoke with the news people and told them that they had tested positive, been in quarantine, and not been able to get the care. You know, they tried to call medical on the ship, and they had not been able to have anybody answer the phone, and had not had good communication. And so I wanted to share with you a little bit of what I hear. So many of you are so kind to send me emails and let me know what's going on. And I want you to know, I try to be really, really responsible with what I share, and I really try hard to only share things that I know for sure are true, that someone has told me from firsthand experience. I try to sort through a little bit of the subjectiveness of it. You can offer somebody, a piece of cake, and as one person, it will be the best cake they've had. To another person, they'll find it the worst cake they've ever had, and then we'll have everything in between. So I try to take that out when I share things with you. So having said that, so I have heard from a lot of Let's Go family members, and I would say several, maybe 15 or 20, something like this, of people who have had the opportunity, unfortunately, to be quarantined on a Princess cruise ship. And they all have shared that they are put into quarantine. They have all been in balcony cabins. They get to have access to the room service menu, and they get to have access to the main dining room menu, and then they order what they want and it comes to them. Several people have said it takes quite a while for the food to arrive. I've had several people say that when they try to call down to medical, whether it's for cough drops or whatever they're calling for, that the phone rings and rings and rings, and either doesn't get answered or takes a whole lot of phone calls, and finally it will get answered. I've had people say that they have a hard time getting communication, that they will get put into quarantine, and then they'll have a hard time getting the information that they need to know about, like getting off the ship and flights, and how long they have to be in quarantine, things like this. But I have not heard anyone say that they needed life or death care and didn't receive it. I haven't heard that. I haven't heard of anyone say that they were dumped on the sidewalk by Princess, that they needed to go to a quarantine hotel and weren't taken care of. I have never heard that. And so to me, as I think of this, I honestly think what has happened, I think that the cruise lines are overwhelmed. That does not excuse not having somebody to answer the phone when you call, and it does not excuse poor communication. That is something they need to get on the ball with, or people are going to lose their loyalty to different cruise lines. And Princess is not the only one that it happens on. It's just the one. This is a very princess-centric channel thus far, and that's what I hear a lot about, and that's what people share with me. But as we are hearing from other outlets, it's not only on princess ships that this is happening. And so that's where we are today. A really interesting video that you all might want to take a look at. I don't know how many of you are familiar with port monkeys. They have, you know what, I honestly haven't looked to see how long they have been putting videos out, but they do a really, really good job. They do an awesome job of like showing you what to do in ports, walking around, things like that. They're very nice people. They don't know me from anybody. But you know what? I'll link their channel below because he was live today. Earlier today. He's in London in quarantine in a Radisson hotel close to Heathrow. And he shares the perspective of having tested positive on the ship. His wife was negative. She's on a plane home now. And so he is waiting through the process of trying to get tested negative so that he can come back to the United States again. And so, like I said, I'll link that. And he was live this morning, and I didn't catch the live because I had an appointment this morning, but I've watched it now. And he shared some really good information as well as some perspective. And so here's what I want us to talk about. There's a few things I want us to talk about in the comments today. But, you know, at the end, towards the end of his live, he said, you know, if I had to do it over again, you know, should I have kept my mouth shut, worn a mask, stayed away from people? He just put that out there, and it's made me think an awful lot. And I've been thinking about this even more the last few days because we've got our cruise coming up. It's supposed to depart on May 28th out of Rome. And honestly, the last thing I want to do is have Corinne and I test positive on the ship, and then you have to be in quarantine, and then you have to worry about if you have to quarantine once you get off the ship and then getting home. I'm not saying it's impossible. It's just not a dream come true. And so what do you think about that? Here's the hard thing for me as I waited once he said that, you know, two things. First of all, the people on the cruise ship have chosen to be there. If you are vaccinated, we're vaccinated, so it doesn't stop you from getting COVID, but it helps you not have serious disease when you get it. And so we've made the choice to go, and so is everybody else on the ship. And then you have the people who are not vaccinated, and they have decided to accept that risk in their life. They know that they could go and get COVID. They are not vaccinated for whatever reason, so they have a higher risk for serious illness if they get COVID. But at the same time, we've all chosen to be there. And COVID is so widespread now. It is just truly everywhere. And so I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you think the answer is to all of this? On the cruise line side, I am going to advocate for them as well. I honestly do think that they are really trying to do an excellent job. I don't know how hard it is to hire more people right now to help them with this. I do know that where we live, it is really hard to hire competent people right now because I've tried. And it's just, I know that the labor market is tight, and so maybe they're having a hard time hiring enough people. I don't know. We've heard about the slowdown in getting visas approved for people who are crew members who would be coming to the U.S., who need that visa to come to be able to get on the ship to work. And so I think there's a lot of factors at play, but I would really like to hear what you all think and kind of where you think we're headed with this. I'm kind of excited for when they finally decide to call this endemic rather than a pandemic, but I'd like to really hear what you all have to say. So that's that discussion. Now we're going to move on to the COVID health protocols. And so there's not a huge difference, but there's just a little bit of a difference here and there that I think are really important that you make note of if you're going to be going on any of these cruises. So first of all, for our sailings from the United States and Canada, they have not changed any of the testing requirements. That is all just the same. I wanted to let you know that for a really long time in the section of the protocols where it would say, you know, what if I had COVID-19 and I recovered and I'm still testing positive? What do I need to do to be able to board the ship? For a really long time, it said that you needed to have a copy of your COVID test, and it had to be not more than 90 days old, but more than 10 days old. You couldn't have had COVID within the last 10 days. So you had to have proof of that positive COVID test. And then you also had to have proof of a letter of recovery from your doctor. And it had to be an official one, like with letterhead and all of the information. But now under that heading, all it says is that you need to have a copy of that positive COVID test with the date from lab, everything, for them to see how long ago it was. And that's all. They've taken away the requirement to need that letter. And that applies both to, I should say, for all of the things. It applies for sailings from the U.S. and Canada. It applies for sailings from the United Kingdom and sailings from Europe. All of this is on Princess. And so I thought that that was a really big difference right there. Another thing that I think is really handy is when they talk about testing at the port, they also say that for a long time now, those docgo.com tests that you can get like at the port in Vancouver, for a long time here, we've had them out of Fort Lauderdale, San Francisco, and Los Angeles that you can make the appointment and just get tested at the port. They've been $100. Now they are $60. So I thought that was good. I think that makes it more competitive with what a lot of the on-site testing is. So that's really handy. And remember with the DocGo that you have to make an appointment. And when you go on to make an appointment, you literally choose your ship and sailing date. And it is that particular, and I think that's awesome. And if you're from Canada and you want to book that, we have learned that you can just go ahead and put in the address for the terminal for your home address, because it doesn't accept the same, like it wants a zip code and stuff like we have here in the US. It's a little different, so you can do that. So I just wanted to make sure that you know that. And then the last thing I want to make sure is really clear, because it came up in our live the other evening. It says, in addition to your health questionnaire that you do on the Medallion Class app, and you have to do that within 24 hours of sailing, within 72 hours of embarkation, the Canadian government requires that all guests, including Canadian citizens, it says, sign into the ArriveCan app on their computer, or else download the app and do it on your phone. And you have to enter proof of vaccination and your travel information along with your passport information. And it says you receive an ArriveCan receipt. Please bring a digital copy of the email or print your receipt to bring with you when you travel. So I have had people tell me that that was not asked for at embarkation on the ship. We have since learned from people who are on these cruises right now, and I know this for sure on Princess and Royal Caribbean, that they don't ask for it at embarkation, but your room steward is going to ask for it. And I do know that on Princess that they have one of our Let's Go family members is amazing. Let me know that they actually have staff set aside to help you, that they'll tell you where the lounge is or wherever they're doing it, and they can help you do it if you haven't been able to do it so far. Okay, and everything that I can tell and what I'm hearing is you do it one time and that is good. Okay, it doesn't seem like, from what I'm hearing from people that you have to keep redoing it again unless it's another trip. If it's another trip, then you have to redo it again. And so I just wanted to make sure that you know that, and that the other thing that we've learned about the ArriveCan app and the passport, and like 5 or 6 different Let's Go family members now who are on ships have told me this, is that when you get to Canada, and even someone was so kind to tell me this about a land crossing who took the shuttle from SeaTac up to Vancouver. Once you submit that, Canada links it to your passport. So when you go across the border, when they pull up your passport, they can see your ArriveCan submission as well. And so just know that that's working really good. They've got that under control. And so I wanted to make sure that that was really clear. Alrighty, and then finally, it says that if you are going to be at the terminal, and like I said, that DocGo is going to be $60. If you have to have a test at the terminal and you don't have a reservation, that's going to be $60. And then it refers to testing on board every 4 days, which is for people who have a vaccine exemption. That is going to be $10. If you need a test to be able to get off in a port, that's going to be $10, unless it is scheduled. If you're scheduled with a Princess excursion, then it's going to be included. Okay, let's see. Oh, and then if you have to get your disembarkation test, that is also going to be $10 for people who are not vaccinated. And then lastly, the other thing that they have updated and added is that if you want Princess to test you at disembarkation for you to have the test so that you can travel to your home country, you need to show them your airline tickets so that they have proof that you are leaving within a day. So they're not going to just test you if you don't have proof of that. If you're going to be in town for a few days, they're not going to test you. And so, like for example, when we disembark in Barcelona, I'm not going to have them test us because we are not going to be leaving. We could probably get away with it. We're planning to disembark really early so we can get sightseeing in Barcelona, but we're not going to have them test us because we're going to fly home on Sunday, and our flight is a little bit later in the day, and so we're just going to do one of our eMed tests, the Abbott laboratories. We're going to just do that in our hotel room, and so that was just another thing that they have added. Alrighty, now on to the protocols from the UK. The UK, the main differences that they have added are very similar to what they have added for the sailings from the US and Canada. They also contain the directive that if you are going to have, if you're going to be boarding and you've had COVID recently so that you would test positive, you also need to show proof of that positive COVID test. And it's the same time limit, like it cannot be within 10 days of embarkation, but it can't be more than 90 days out, okay? The other thing that they are also letting people know is there are going to be costs for people who have the vaccine exemption. You've got that extra test at the port. That'll be $60. Testing every 10 days is going to be $10. If you have to be tested to go ashore, that's going to be $10. And it says $0 if you're part of a company shore excursion, like if you're with Princess. And so to me, that's a little contradictive to the fact that they say that you're not going to probably be able to get off the ship unless you are with a Princess excursion, and I've read this in other cruise lines protocols as well, that sounds like this is all due to what the ports are asking. And so I guess if you pull into some port and you are lucky enough that you can get off and not be with a ship excursion, it's going to be a $10 test, and then also the $10 at disembarkation. So I think that's really nice that it just costs the same here. Sorry. Finally, for the sailings from the UK, they also have added the requirement that you have to show your flight information, prove that you are going to be flying home that same day as disembarkation, so that, or else they're not going to test you for free. Now we're going to move a little bit onto the sailings from Europe, and there's just a little bit more information contained in these sailings, and I was really excited to see Greece mentioned. We're not disembarking from Greece, but it gives you a window to what Greece is doing, and some of you might be going on a cruise from Greece. And so first of all, and you know what, let me add this a really important reminder here. If you're sailing from the UK or you are sailing from Europe, if you have a vaccine and it's been more than 9 months since you were vaccinated, or 270 days, you have to have a booster or you have to have an exemption. Like, there's no way around it, okay? Boosters are required. That's what the EU is asking for. And so you can't even slight the cruise lines on it. They are simply meeting the requirements for the country there. And so they've also got the same thing going on of telling people how much of letting everyone know what the requirements are. Princess has been sticking with, if you're going to sail from a port in Europe, you have to have your test within 1 day. They are offering it now at the port. It's now going to be $60. For a long time, we were hearing that cruising from the ports in Europe was complimentary, but now it is going to be $60, and it will just be added to your stateroom. They call it your folio charge, your onboard account. And so we are planning for ours as well to do our another one of the eMed tests, just to go for embarkation, simply because we're going to do it in our hotel room, because if one of us tests positive, there's no point to go to the ship. But if we're both negative, then we can just go show our negative tests and get on the cruise. And so just remember that if you're going to go ahead and take advantage of testing at the port, it'll be $60. Here's the information for cruises that are embarking in Greece. It says the Greek government requires guests to take a COVID-19 test within 1 day of embarkation. We understand that it may be difficult to find that test in the tight turnaround. Accordingly, if guests do not receive their test results in time or are unable to find a test, Princess will provide complimentary testing at the terminal. So for those cruises from Greece, you're going to have complimentary. For the other ones, I guess in Europe, it is now $60 US, okay? I really appreciate the ad that guests that have been approved for a vaccine exemption will need an embarkation day test performed at the terminal in addition to the negative PCR test within 3 days before embarkation. And then they do remind us that guests that travel internationally should be really clear on what the requirements are for different countries to be able to enter and everything for testing. And with what Greece is asking, I am wondering if that is why Princess is keeping their 1 day test window so tight, because I know some other cruise lines have a little bit wider testing window before you board the cruise ship, but I am wondering if that's part of why the reason is for 1 day. I don't know, but it did cross my mind. They also are telling everyone, if you have recently recovered from COVID, you also just need to show your positive test further out than 10 days, but not further out than 90 at embarkation instead of your test, alrighty? And then finally, they have added the information on the vaccination. People that have a vaccine exemption, you're going to also have to pay $60 for your test at the port. Testing on board every 4 days is going to be $10 a test. If you need tested to get off the ship at any port, it's $10. And finally, your disembarkation test is going to be $10. And then once again, for everyone wanting an embarkation day test to return to your home country, you need to show that your airline travel will be that same day as disembarkation in order for them to test you. So I hope that this is helpful to everybody. I know that it's kind of a running update. It's really crazy how many updates we're having, but I think that they have to clarify a lot of information, as well as things are just changing really quickly, and that's where we stand right now. So now we're going to talk about what I think is the funner part of things. I think it's really fun to hear about what's going on in the cruise ships. And I'm going to start with what's going on right now on, let's see, on the Discovery Princess. Okay, so first of all, Rick, one of our Let's Go family members, is on the Discovery Princess, and they were so kind. I don't know from that username if it's who it is, and so I just thought I would let you know that they let me know on Tuesday that the Discovery Princess arrived in Victoria 2 hours late, and it's because of rough seas. He said, or she said, that the weather was overcast, super rough seas, and so they were a little late. I'm so glad they finally got to go in. When we went there in 2014, we didn't get to go in, and for a couple of hours, I know they were waiting for the winds to die down so that we could go in, and they just never died down. So I'm really glad that your cruise got to go ahead and go on in. They said that there are 2,200 guests on board, and they also added that they added the thing that when you get off, you have to go through passport control, that nobody checked the ArriveCan app when they checked their passport, but it really does sound like they're linked, so they would have been able to see that. The Canadian officials would have. And then they also said that when they got off the ship, they just walked off, but then when they were returning to get on the ship again, you just return using the medallion. They look at who you are, which has been our experience on our cruises. And as you were coming back in to get on the ship again, there was no passport or ID required or anything. To me, I think that's just helpful information, but it doesn't mean I wouldn't take mine with me. So still take your ID and everything with you. And then they also added that, here, let me find it. They were saying that like from when they embarked till now, about 60% of the passengers are wearing their masks on board, and that is way up from how it was at the beginning of the cruise. And so I don't know if those people are all not feeling well, and or if they're just a little bit worried. We've not had any information come out about an outbreak or anything like that. And you know what? I meant to say this earlier when I was talking about like how the COVID cases are going on board a ship. I think this is just me. Every day I check the status on the CDC's website of the cruise ships, and nobody is red still. Several of them are being investigated by the CDC, which is very routine. Very routine. That doesn't mean panic or anything. But I think that using the word outbreak, I think that should be reserved for a real outbreak. Like when you've got half the ship having it or something. I think it's irresponsible to use it when we've got some people that have COVID. And so I wanted to let you know that that's what I think, and that I am really very careful about that. Just because people are wearing more masks on board, to me, doesn't mean that we have half the ship sick or even a large chunk of it sick. I think that maybe people are just thinking a little bit more and realizing that they want to wear their mask. And so I know that when we go on our cruise, I am sure there's times I'm going to wear my mask, especially indoors, because I'm a cautious person by nature. But I think that it'll just make me not worry so much if I have my mask on. It's just like another layer. And so I just wanted to let you know that. The next information that we've got about Canada, let's see. This is really actually so helpful. So pay attention to this if you're flying in or out of Vancouver. So had a nice Let's Go family member send me an email and let us know that you've got to be so careful when you book your flights, especially to depart from Vancouver, because apparently the security lines are just huge, just enormous. They said do not have any of your flight to depart scheduled within just a few hours of when your ship is going to dock, because recently over at the Vancouver airport has been having huge security delays. Passengers are reporting standing in line for more than 2 hours just to get through security in order to get to the gates. This person said that they had a friend at she was at the airport yesterday to pick up a friend, and that the security line went clear through the international terminal and snaked into the domestic terminal, and that is apparently happening every day there now. And they say that airport officials are recommending that you arrive to the Vancouver airport at the very minimum 3 hours before your flight's supposed to go, and even 2 hours for flights within Canada. And so just plan tons and tons of extra time into your schedule so that you don't miss your flight standing in the security line. And they expect this to keep going for a while because it's due to staff shortages. And so take a look at your booking, and if it is really close, call and see if you can get it changed at all. And the other thing I wanted to let you know about that is be careful when you're booking your flights to go. And you all know that I advocate to go in the day before a cruise, but if you have got a cruise that is going to be coming in on the day that you depart into Vancouver, I would be really careful and make sure that in your carry-on, if you're going to check a bag and have a carry-on, make sure that you put some essentials in there, because if they start having any trouble with staff shortages and getting luggage like they are at Heathrow, you're going to be really glad that you've got some of your essentials with you. And so just keep that in mind. Now, does anyone know by any chance when you are going to one of the Princess Lodges, can you book the dinner show early? Someone asked me that question, and I put the reply in, and I haven't gotten a reply back yet, or at least I can't find it. If she replies, it's Karen. Can you book those in advance? I know that you can, once you've got a land tour booked, you can go in to the land tour planner, the cruise planner, kind of like if you're on a cruise, and you can select some of the excursions that you want to do while you're at the lodge, but I didn't know if you can do the dinner show. I can't find anybody that can tell me, and so if any of you have had that experience or have access to the cruise personalizer, you've got a land tour booked, would you please look, because that'll really help us out. And I also wanted to let you know we've got a great Let's Go family member, and I don't know from the name on her user name on YouTube for sure what her name is, and so I won't guess, but she just had a few handy tips for you all that have one of these booked. The first one would be that if you are mobilely challenged, make sure that you let Princess know with your reservation so that they'll book you on that main floor so that it's really handy for you to get around. She mentioned, and I did know this, that at some of the lodges, you know, the buildings are kind of far apart, and they do have shuttles, so you don't have to worry about walking the whole distance. And on the Denali, when you go on the Denali tour, which is included with a lot of them, she says that you can go ahead and make a reservation for a sack lunch to take with you at the snack place there at the lodge. So look for that if you want to book a little sack lunch to take with you. I really appreciate you telling us all that. And then the other really fun thing that she told us, which I think any of you going up to one of those lodges would maybe like to know, is in Fairbanks they offer a steamboat and gold dredge combo tour, and it's really interesting. She says it includes, it says the steamboat part on the river has a narrative tour and it stops at a village to explore. The gold dredge part shows part of the Alaska pipeline, and it has a little train ride that shows how gold was mined. It has a gold panning experience and if you find gold, it is yours to keep. And so I just wanted to let everybody know about this, who is going to be up there in Alaska this year if you want to do that. And then also somebody asked if they are still testing in between back-to-back cruises. And bless Jennifer, her mother and father are going to be on the Majestic June 4th, and they have already been told they're doing a back-to-back, and they've already been told that they are going to be tested. And so heads up on that. I know for a while we were hearing about no testing between back-to-backs, but it sounds like they are going to be doing it at least up in Alaska. And if any of you can comment on any of the other cruise lines of back-to-back testing, that would sure be wonderful. Alrighty, the next thing that, the next thing that I want to make sure that everybody knows about is, the other day I mentioned that T-Mobile app, not T-Mobile app, the T-Mobile program where you can get your data and your text messages for free when you go to like 210 different countries. A Let's Go family member also commented and said that T-Mobile plan is great, and they also have a plan for seniors that goes with that. The overseas data is slow, so you can't stream, but you can do emails and other things. And the texts are free. Like we said, you can upgrade to a high-speed roaming plan by day or multiple days if you need that for a modest cost. And so for those of you that are looking at that T-Mobile plan that I told you about, I was hoping that that would be really helpful. Alrighty. Let's see where we are here next. Alrighty, the last thing that I want to let you know about is we've got Karen, and she just commented and said yesterday that they are just right back from being on the NCL Encore. They did a 15-day Panama Canal trip. There were 2 great Broadway shows on the ship, awesome entertainment, great food, especially the restaurants, which they got 5 free meals. And I know that when you book with Norwegian, a lot of time what you book depends on what free meals you get at their specialty dining, and that they had a wonderful time. So I just wanted to let everyone know. And I also want to add, we hear about COVID and on the cruise ships and being quarantined, but also, here's my reminder that I think that it is still wonderful to be on cruise ships. I think that people are having a lot of fun, a lovely time, and so don't forget about that part. And so I would love to hear from you all what you think about the whole quarantine thing and just your whole take on the situation. I would love to hear from you, as well as if you're on a cruise ship and you've got anything helpful for us, whether you're sailing in Canada, whether you're sailing in Europe. I would add, we are hearing more about quarantining and everything on sailings that are out of the United States right now. And I would really like to hear, does anybody have anything to say on that about sailings in Europe? I haven't heard any in Europe. We've heard about the Emerald Princess in the UK just very recently, but I've not heard anything other than that. And so we would sure like to hear more, and I think that will help inform our thought process as well. And so I look forward to hearing from you all. I have lots more to talk to you about tomorrow too, but I think today our video is long enough and gives us lots to talk about. I really appreciate all the help you offer each other and me. So thank you very much. If you appreciate these videos, would you please give this a thumbs up, as that does help us out. I will be talking to you all again really soon. You all take really good care. God bless you. Love you. Bye-bye.